Peace and love, you beautiful wonders of a spiritual level of being. Nathan here from a spiritual level of being, and you have a spiritual level of being. And today we're going to be discussing sex and Christianity. Now, many in the view of Christian orthodoxy view sex as the original sin, and that sex outside of marriage and that the act of sexual intercourse without the goal of producing a child is viewed as a sin. This belief is still held in many churches today. Now, this view of after the fall of Adam and Eve, that Adam and Eve ate the forbidden fruit and thus from this inherited lust for one another and wanted to have sex with each other. So when God said to multiply, this was a necessary evil in order for mankind to reproduce. Now, this in turn is the belief that all humans are born into sin. Now, Gnostic Christianity rejects this and they view every child born into innocence, which in turn aligns more with the teachings of Jesus himself in the Bible and the historical Jesus. Now, St. Augustine, who was once a Gnostic Christian who shifted his allegiance to that of Catholicism, now he believed that the guilt of the original transgression that was transmitted by the inherited sexual desire of Adam and Eve and their offspring, this still persisted in today. So humanity then we was talking about and still today in this current age. So this explains the perversity and the independence of the sexual organs and the nature of carnal impulses. Now, St. Augustine also claimed that following the fall of man, that it was lust that made it necessary for man to have an erection in order to conceive. Now, St. Augustine further went on to claim that the act of sexual lust is also therefore accompanied with the act of sexual intercourse, which is in turn inherently evil. This view from St. Augustine was also attributed to other church fathers, which in turn would condemn the Gnostics and indeed sex itself. Now, the Capocratian Christian Gnostics, they encouraged their followers to enjoy life, to enjoy the joys of sex, as they viewed that God created all joys of love equally for all mankind. Now, some Gnostics weren't shy of having sex, as they viewed the social norms as corrupted, so they would decondition themselves from the social norms from the material body in order to embrace their true authentic selves. Now, it was through this deconditioning themselves from the material body that in turn they would no longer have to reincarnate, that they in turn would return to the Brahma. Now, some Gnostics would encourage their followers not to have sex, as they viewed this world as so corrupted and so evil that one shouldn't bring about a pure soul into this corrupted world. Now, many Gnostics consider the act of love as a celebration to the divine, feminine and masculine, the divine Mother, Father, God. Now, some Gnostics viewed chastity as graceful, as a means not to bring about a soul into this corrupted world. So we had many different views of sex in ancient Christianity, in ancient Gnostic Christianity as well. Now, in ancient Judaism, we had the view of Yahweh and before him El having sex with their wife Asherah, as later traditions would state Asherah was the wife of Yahweh and before this was his mother. Now, we have a shrine that has the engravings of a description of Yahweh and his wife Asherah, and you'll find Yahweh naked with a penis. Now, this would have been a belief of the Samaritan Jews. Now, the Samaritan Jews, sorry. Now, these Samaritan Jews were not much different from the earlier Jews, who in turn weren't much different from their neighbours in their views of gods, the Elohim, which they attributed to many human qualities, including sex. And they enjoyed sex, these gods, these Elohim, and sometimes, like the Greek gods, would even use sex violently. Now, sex was a huge part of the ancient world. It's a part of life. Now, it was a huge part of ancient religions, of every ancient religion across the world. Now, this in turn you can find in fertility cults with our early ancient ancestors. Now, there were even ancient Christians that would conduct the Roman and Egyptian methods of birth control in order to stop being pregnant. There were even Gnostic Christians that would do this too. And thus, the early Catholic Church and even Orthodox Church would condemn this as heresy. And this view of birth control being a sin is still viewed in the Catholic Church today. So peace and love, everyone. I love you all. Connect to one mind and soul. Namaste.